so now we're moving on to the Venn diagrams that have 3 pieces, and those obviously are going to be a little bit tougher. So with this particular one, we have 40, we're talking about students who are liking sports, and we have to look at our number of circles. So we're going to have a basketball circle, a soccer circle, and a football circle. Now unless it tells you, you can set up your circles however you wish. I just usually do mine in order: basketball, soccer, and football. All right. Now, as far as totals go, it doesn't tell you the total, but there's one thing, and you'll learn this in the latter part of the class. When you're talking about percentages, and you're talking about, a group, well, the highest percentage you can have is going to be 100%. You'll say, oh, well, if you add all these up, yeah, these are overlapping. So that's why these, if you added these up, that's why they would be over 100%. But once you put them in the circles, what's inside the circles has to total 100%. You can't have more than 100%. So anytime you have a percent problem, your max is 100. Now, just like in our 2-part Venn diagrams that we did in the previous video, you want to start where they overlap. Now, mine overlap right here where it says 10% like all 3. Okay, so this is where all 3 would overlap. That's in the basketball, soccer, and football groups. Okay, so let's backtrack. Okay, so it says 15% like basketball and football. Okay, so here's basketball. Right here in the blue, there's basketball. And here's football right here in the orange. Okay, so where these 2 overlap is going to be this region right here. What you'll notice about that is that's in both the blue and the orange region. So that's where basketball and football overlap. Now, it tells me that basketball and football, where they overlap, has 15 pieces. Okay, so right now in that piece, let me draw it one more time. Right now in that piece, you see that there are 10. I need 15 in that piece, and so that's going to be an extra 5 right there. And that's how that part would look. Okay, backing up, the next one that I have is 15% like soccer and football, and it's just a coincidence that those are the same numbers. They're not always going to be the same numbers. Okay, so here's soccer right here. I'm going to color soccer red. There's soccer. And football I have is orange. Okay, so where these 2 cross is going to be right here. Okay, so that red region right there is where those 2 cross. In that red region, I have to have 15. Well, right now I have 10, so I'm going to need 5 more to make 15. Okay, and lastly, we have 15% liking basketball and soccer. Again, just a coincidence, they're not going to be the same number. So basketball is the blue, and soccer is the red. And so where they overlap is going to be this piece right here. That's where they overlap. So in that red piece, I have to have 15. Right now I have 10, so I need 5 more. Now then, that takes care of all of my overlapping ones. Now let's keep going backwards. It says that 50% like football. Well, football is my orange circle. So here's my orange circle right here. In this orange circle, I need 50. Well, right now I have 5 and 10 and 5. So if I add those up, that's going to give me 20. Well, remember, 50% like football. So that would be an extra 30, because 30 plus 20 would give me 50. You could say I needed 50, I'm going to subtract 20, and 30 is what's left. So that's how I got that value. Okay, soccer. it says 40% like soccer. So soccer is my red region here. If I look inside this red region, I have 5 and 10 and 5. So that's going to be 20. Remember that 40 like soccer, I have 20 accounted for. So that means I'm going to have 20 left. And 40% like basketball. Okay, here's basketball. So I've got 5 and 10 and 5, which again is 20. The numbers aren't always going to be the same. And you have 40 minus 20, that would be 20 here. Now that's how they look. Those are my Venn diagrams. The other thing that I always do, or that I did in the previous video, didn't mean for it to be that color, is I always make a little cloud. Sorry, having technical difficulties. Now let's see if it changed. It did. I always make, there we go. I always make a little cloud that, for the ones that like none of them. You know, not everybody likes a sport, right? And so you're going to have some people out to the side that aren't going to be in the system. So here's how you tell. Remember, if I'm doing percent, I have to have 100%. Well, let's count up what I have so far. I have 20 and 5 and 10 and 5. Okay, and that takes everything that's in the blue circle. Okay, so I've already taken care of everything that had a little check. And then I have 20 and 5 and 30 left. Okay, and that should be every number that's in there. 20, 5, 10, 5, 25, and 30. There you go. So if I add those up, that's 20 plus 5 would be 25, 35, 40. Okay, so I've got 40 in the top line. And in the bottom line, I have 30, 35. That makes 35. 35 and 20 would make 55. So I have 95 people accounted for in the circles. Remember, my total is 100, so that means 5 people like none. Now, let's go to the questions. My Venn diagram is built. Let's go to the questions that they asked. The first question says, how many students only like one sport? Okay, so that would be this 20 only likes basketball. And this 20 right here only likes soccer. And this 30 right here only likes football. So if I add them up, I'm going to get 70. So 70% only like one sport. They don't have any overlappings. They only like one sport at a time. Okay, and the second question says, what percentage does not like any sport? Well, that's what's in my gray cloud down here. 5% does not like any sport. And that's how that part would look. Okay, so let's do one more of those. Now in this particular one, they gave you the Venn diagram. So I think that's really confusing, the way that they have it written. So you may see one like that where the Venn diagrams is kind of suggested for you, but you don't have to use their suggestions, especially if it looks really, really tricky. Okay, we are doing sports again. It doesn't ask percents though. We have 3 different sports teams: baseball, basketball, and rugby. I do want to caution you for using B for baseball, because B is also basketball, so make sure when you label them that you label them with something besides just the B, since you have 2 things starting with B. Now this particular one tells you now then, let's try again. This particular one tells you where to put the A and the B and the C. It tells you that the first one needs to be baseball. Okay, so that one's going to be A, and B is rugby, and C is basketball. Okay, and that's where I'm getting this right here. Now, I'm not going to make you specify that, but that's how they did in this one, which is my Math Lab question, I believe. Okay, just like the other ones, I'm going to start at where they overlap, and I see that 6 had all three, or liked all three, so that's where we're going to be. All right, let's color our circles. I'm going to color baseball red, and I'll color basketball orange, and I'll do rugby green. Maybe that'll kind of help a little. Okay. Working backwards. Basketball and rugby have 10. Okay. So here's basketball, and here's rugby, and here's where they meet. Okay, there's where basketball and rugby meet. In that green area, I have to have 10. Right now, I have 6. So what I'm missing is 4. So that's where 4 would go. Okay. 10 had baseball and basketball. Okay. So here's baseball. And here's basketball. Okay, there's where those two circles overlap. And I have 10 in there. So I already had 6, so that's going to be another 4. 12 had baseball and rugby. Okay, here's baseball. Here's rugby. Here's where they overlap. Baseball and rugby would be 12. Okay, so right now we have 6 in there. So 6 and 6 would give me 12. Okay. Now, backtrack. This time we're going to basketball. Okay, so 15 like basketball. Okay, so here's basketball in this orange circle right here. I have 6 and 4 and 4 in there. So if I add those up, that gives me 14. I need 15. So 14 plus 1 would give me 15. And that's how that one would look. 19 liked rugby. Okay, so here's my rugby circle right here in the green. Right now I have 6 and 6 and 4. So if I add those up, that gives me 10, and 10 and 6 give me 16. But I'm looking for 19. So 16 and 3 would give me 19. Lastly, it tells me that 21 like baseball. So that's my red circle here. I have 6 and 6 and 4. If I add them up, that gives me 10. 10 and 6 give me 16. I'm looking for 21. So 21 minus 16 would be 5. Okay, so now I have my circles done. Let's go outside and make the cloud of what we know they don't like. Remember that 80 cities were surveyed. Okay, let's go through our circles. I have 5, 6 and 6 and 4. Okay, that takes care of everything that's in the middle and the 5. And then I have 3 and 4 and 1. Okay. So that's how we get that. So let's add these up. This is going to be 11 and 10, so that's going to be 21. Add this one up, 4 and 3, that's 7, and 1 gives me 8. And so that's going to give me 29. I had 80 total, minus 29, borrow. So I have 51 cities that didn't have anything. Now I'm going to pause that because that doesn't look right. I'm going to check my work real fast. Alright, that looks good. So, let's see what questions they ask you this time. How many only had a basketball team? Well, that's this number right here. That's only basketball. How many had baseball or rugby? Baseball or rugby? Oh, goodness gracious. Let's go back. Now all of you are like screaming at the screen. You missed it, you missed it. I did. And that's the problem with, first of all, I just missed it. But secondly, that's the problem when you have basketball and baseball is you have to make sure you're in the right circle. So the question said, how many only had a basketball team? And I looked at the baseball circle. So the number that only had a basketball team would be 1. Basketball is at the bottom. So be very careful. Don't make the mistake that I made there. How many had baseball or rugby? Okay, so here's my baseball circle right here. If I added up everything in there, all of those are baseball. So that's 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 4. Okay, 5 plus 6, that's all my baseball. And then if I added up the other ones that are rugby, that'd be 3 plus 4. Okay, because that would be in this circle. I've already considered the 2 6s. Theirs are already in there, so 3 and 4. And if I add those up, I get, that's 11 and 10 and 7. Okay, so that'd be 17 plus 11 would be 28. So the answer would be 28 for that one. How many liked baseball or rugby, but not basketball? Okay, so that means you're going to take this one out. So see this, all this orange right here? Take this one out. Baseball or rugby? So if I look at baseball or rugby that's not in the orange circle, it's going to be 5 plus 6 plus 3. Which would be 11 plus 3, which would be 14. And that's how that one would look.